Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And thank you for tuning in again live today. It is Monday, July 29th. It is noon here on the East Coast, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. I am your host, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please drop a comment, drop us a chat, let us know so that way I'm not kind of talking to dead air. And if this is working for you, please tag a friend who loves tattoos. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately written tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com, and you can try it out for free. You do not have to subscribe right away. We have three different options for you to try it out. You can take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, or you can get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals, or you can take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. Fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself will absolutely love the tattoo history course. It's really comprehensive and really goes in depth and covers a lot of the aspects of historic tattooing that most people don't know about today. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details. For example, if you wanted to jump into today's session, you could go to reinventingthetattoo.com, click on the event calendar, find today's event, and find the link to join us live in the event calendar. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you also have access to other features such as the Reinventing 24/7 channel, which has 13 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all web-enabled devices. You can also find a full host of professional development courses from over 20 world-class tattooers, including people like BJ Betts, Andre Malcolm, Bob Tyrell, and a whole host of other artists that all have on-demand seminars available for purchase at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find us in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all Roku-enabled devices. And you can also find us in all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Once again, if this is working for you, please drop us a comment in the chat and let me know I'm not kind of talking to dead air here. We do have a couple of very special live events coming up, starting out Monday, July 29th. Actually, that's today. These notes are from last week. Sorry about that. Monday, August 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a live interview with Anthony Tex from Deadly Tattoos, where we will be discussing traveling, teaching seminars, and thinking outside the box. Coming up August 22nd through 26th, uh, we will be live at Hell City in Phoenix, Arizona, for the Hell City Tattoo Convention, and that includes special guests Paul Booth, Mike Cole, Ty McEwen, Ron Earhart, Amber Joy will be there, D-Rock will be there, Oak Adams and Anna Mia, Brian Geckel, Jimmy DeLessio, Pepe Carrere, Chris Mack, and of course, yours truly will also be there tattooing live. Following that, we have the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. We will be beaming out live from Hancock, Massachusetts, October 24th through 27th for the Paradise Gathering. And we have a number of incredible presenters this year. This is going to be one for the books. You do not want to miss this one. We've got amazing artists in attendance, such as Jake Meeks, Kyle Olson, Renee Little, Mickey Schlick, Sandy McAndrew will be flying out. Thea Duskin will be there. Corey Ferguson will be there. Steve Butcher will be teaching a seminar. Christina Christie will be coming out from Canada. Gunnar will be there teaching a seminar. Anthony Tex will be there teaching a seminar. Russ Abbott will be there teaching a seminar. And he's actually our special guest today. So please be patient while I get through this intro. And a whole lot more. They will all be there. You do not want to miss the Paradise Gathering this year, October 24th through 27th. I'd like to go through and take a quick minute to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in this post-pandemic era, there's still tattoo events and conventions getting rescheduled. So if you want the latest, most up-to-date tattoo event or convention information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe you're planning a vacation. I always plan mine around tattoo conventions. It's just because that's who I am. Take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank TattooNow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They're 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking for the digital tools to help you get more clients through the door that want to get the kind of work that you really want to do, or if you're looking to really optimize your booking process to absolutely have the most efficient system possible to get more clients in, take a look at tattoonow.com. They've been doing it for over 20 years and they know exactly what they are doing. Would also like to thank Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his custom DVDs. I believe he still has a few custom tattoo coil machines for sale, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries, my personal and, personal favorite resource for people looking for more information on becoming a tattoo artist or getting a tattoo apprenticeship or what a tattoo apprenticeship should be like. Take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. It is by far my favorite resource out there. We ask that if you like today's show, please go through and post a positive review on the channel. Help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And without further ado, I would like to say a very special thank you and welcome to our special guest today. This is the man that has, in my opinion, really done more for the industry than I think he even really realizes. He is the author of the Ornamental Archive and the inventor of the Abbott Color Wheel. Please welcome Russ Abbott. Russ, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Really, really appreciate it. And, we were talking a little bit earlier before the show got started on, just some of the ways that the tattoo industry has changed over the past couple of years, and, we seem to be in a little bit of a dry spell right now. And, we had been talking about side hustles and, diversifying our abilities and our skill sets. Let's dive into that a little bit. And then I've got some other questions for you about some of the new things coming out from TattooSmart. And maybe we can dive into that a little bit more. But side hustles. Yeah, man.
Right.
Side hustles are everywhere.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jason. I really appreciate this. It's been a little while since we talked to the Reinventing Artist, the community that you have here. So happy to be here, ready to chop it up. As far as side hustles go, right? Yeah, I do have quite a bit of experience in figuring out how to make money other ways besides actually physically tattooing people. And those two products that you just showed, represent some of my first efforts. And the book Ornamental Archive, that must be from roughly about, I don't know, maybe 2007, 2008. And then the Abbott Color Wheel came a few years later. And, both of those were projects that I used Kickstarter to fund. So with the book, it was the first, major product. I needed to raise, I don't know, $15,000 to be able to print 1,000 books and have them, delivered to everybody. So it was kind of a huge undertaking, a bigger investment than I was prepared to make on my own without that platform. So I used Kickstarter. I may have been the first person to do a tattoo related project on Kickstarter. So it was one of those times where, in a way, it just like the sort of like uniqueness and newness of the platform sort of felt like it contributed to the success, because I was able to generate all the money that we needed just within 48 hours, I think. And then it was just about stretch goals and raising the amount. So the final amount for the book's Kickstarter ended up somewhere around like $48,000 that was raised. And a lot of that was because I was selling tattoos through it. I was saying, hey, if you want to get a tattoo inspired by this book project, you can get, a full sleeve for a pledge of this amount, or a back piece for a pledge of this amount. And all of those sold as well. So once you kind of remove me just selling tattoos through it, maybe, it's probably about 10 or 15,000 less, just based on the interest in pre-buying the book. But things were different then. Social media, it was totally different. I mean, we were definitely using Facebook, we were using Instagram to help promote it. But this was a time when your friends would actually like make a post to talk about your thing a lot more than people will do it now. They built these tools, like you can kind of like share a story, and that kind of does the same thing. But using social media to drive attention to anything that you're selling is like 20 times harder now than it used to be,
Yeah.
So yeah, what questions do you have about that?
So, I mean, you have had quite a few different side hustles in the past.
Mhm.
Ornamental Archive, you touched on that. The Abbott Color Wheel, which you then took digital and started to bring that into Procreate,
Right.
which I keep that as like, so when you open up Procreate, you know how you have your list of documents there and folders and all that stuff. Well, the
Mhm.
Abbott Color Wheel is always that first one up there for me, just because I know I want to have that as like a great color reference guide. If I ever get stuck and, say I'm working on a piece and I don't really know what color I should pick, it's like, okay, let me take a minute. You take a break, go to the bathroom, do whatever you have to do. I'm going to pull up the Abbott Color Wheel, play with some colors real quick. Next thing you know, I'm right there. And it's like, okay, better idea. Let's keep going. Um,
Right.
and then I started to see this kind of like this shift, from Ornamental Archive to the Abbott Color Wheel and actually having the physical color wheel, to this shift over to more of a digital side hustle where,
Yeah.
you start to see the advent of things like TattooSmart come about.
Well,
And I
physical
don't know.
products are very difficult, right? Like you have to print them somewhere, then you have to warehouse them. Then if you get an order, you have to ship it, and you have to do that shipping very fast, right? Like people expect Amazon level, next day shipping, or else they start to, get irritated with you. So, when it comes down to it, a digital product is going to eliminate so many of those problems. And so it's having gone through that with a few different digital products, with also with selling merch for my tattoo studio, and it would be one of those things where you might get an order for a t-shirt on the shop's website, once a week. And the feeling of, holy shit, I finally sold something, is met with the opposite feeling of, holy shit, now I got to figure out how I'm going to ship that to them and get it out fast. So you're constantly getting, like, your life is getting interrupted for this, tiny little bit of profit. And that makes the side hustle kind of suck, So you need a side hustle where, all of your effort in delivering it is kind of contained to a precise amount of time. So I might recommend, if I were selling something physical, I might just go ahead and say there's a pre-order period, and then we're going to ship them all out, and then we're done with it for a while. So you like turn it on, sell the limited amount that you're going to sell for now, and then remove the sort of like constant headache as it slowly fizzles out and dies. That's something that I actually just saw Guy Aitchison did the Flash collab with Eddie. What's his
Yep.
last name?
Eddie Deutsch.
Eddie Deutsch, right? So Eddie and Guy, and actually bought this. And the thing about selling something online, I think using that as a great example, these guys probably hit me with 5 or 6 separate pieces of content from this process, right? Like I saw a live stream that I missed, and I ended up watching it afterwards, where it was just the two of them hanging out and talking about what they just did, and just multiple posts and talking about how it's for a limited time only, and it's gonna be over. It's gonna be over. I probably got an email from you guys. It took 5 or 6 times, and then finally they caught me at the right moment where I was like, I'm gonna go buy that. And that's kind of what it takes to sell anything online now. You really have to be able to hit people multiple times. You can't expect anyone to just like pull out their wallet the first time that they find out about whatever it is you're offering. So I think that's a good example of what it takes now. It's a lot more challenging, but yeah, physical stuff like that it's great. People value it a lot. They love getting something in the mail. But when I started TattooSmart, it was very easy to make it a digital only catalog, because you could just kind of like fight back any urge to say that something was going to get mailed to people. We can sell all over the world now. We don't have to worry about saying we can sell you this in the US, but you can't have it if you're in Latin America. Right. Everything is just instant, and so the whole company is built around that kind of being able to sell it any time of day. We have customer service online, support online, 5 days a week. So if there's a problem, we can get back to you quickly and solve it. But essentially it's just wake up every morning and open up the app and see like, how'd we do last night? And it's, I've been living in that world for a long time now. And, I'm not sure what my life would be like if I hadn't built that company and, didn't take some of my attention away from tattooing clients to do that. But it's been super fulfilling. It's just always something new. We're always building something new and working with creatives around the world to try to figure out what that next step forward is going to be.
Yeah, I was going to say any 3 a.m. purchases that you might see pop up, that's probably me. I do a lot of my impulse shopping and designing very late in the evening.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure every purchase I've made has been after 11 p.m. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were all after 11. And I've got
what makes you decide to go buy, right? Like, are you in this moment where you're struggling in a tattoo and you're thinking, man, I wonder if TattooSmart has anything for this?
I've actually had that exact thought before.
Okay.
Everything from, I had someone come in and ask, they wanted to get a full Kraken sleeve done. And I'm like, all right, Kraken, I can do that. I can do that.
Sweet.
I was like, yeah, let's see what we can do here. And things just weren't looking right. So I wanted to get some other like ideas about placement and just some other perspectives. So I went on TattooSmart and I was like, all right, what do they have? What do they? Oh, the octopus brush set.
Right.
That could be helpful. So
yeah,
I
that
went
one's crazy.
purchased that, and that was crazy. I mean, just the different variations and tentacle structures, the different types and shapes that you could. I'm absolutely phenomenal. But I've done that with multiple tattoos, Polynesian stuff. I had a guy come in not too long ago who wanted a full Polynesian sleeve, and me not knowing too much about it, I was like, all right, well, let's see what we can find. Just trying to maximize efficiency. Not that it cut down on the originality of the piece, because with a lot of those repeating brushes, it's still up to you to figure out the composition and the different areas and the different ways to put things together to make it original. But to be able to have some kind of a repeating brush to create a pattern like that saved me hours of work.
Yeah,
So,
definitely with patterns.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Every now and then I'll see you come out with a new one and it's like, oh, cool. This could be helpful later on for, whatever the bio.
Hmm.
I think there's a bio Mac. There's a couple of different bio Mac tool sets there.
Hmm.
One's repeating brushes. That one's been a lot of fun to play around with.
Yeah, that's
Um,
Technomech by Ant
yeah,
Iannucci. Hmm.
that one. That one has been awesome. Um, Very mechanical, just getting some of those like different piping layouts together and some of the
Hmm.
different textures. Awesome.
I used it
Um,
recently in a sleeve design that I can show you on my iPad that I did on a 3D model.
yeah,
I
pull it
even
up.
I pulled Technomech back out. Um, yeah, I will. Yeah, but the thing I wanted to say was I guess the going back to opening TattooSmart in 2016, starting on this journey of building digital tattoo design tools, it's crazy to think that, it's already what, 8 years in now, and so much has changed, but so much is still kind of the same. This innovation cycle is like, it's surprising and shocking, and then it's just like, you know slow adoption, I think, is the craziest part to me, like seeing how long it takes, most of our peers to sort of like finally pay attention to stuff and start to use it. Because I'm the classic early adopter, like the second that something is possible, I want to figure it out, and I want to explore it, so to see if there's any opportunity there, not only for myself artistically, but for TattooSmart. So I feel like I'm seeing like so many moves ahead on the chessboard, and just trying to remember like that, to back up and, re-explain how to open, the right resolution file in Procreate, because that matters too, and so a few months ago, I ended up making an 8-part video series on YouTube called Procreate Basics. And it's just 8 videos long, and it really just covers like everything that I think a tattoo artist needs to know about how to use Procreate, including the process that I prefer and that I think gets the job done a lot faster. And Tattoo Smart's been talking about those videos in the emails we send, nonstop. Like every single email that we send is, reaching tens of thousands of people, and then links to those videos are placed in every single email. And still, if I go look at our YouTube channel and I see like what the view count is like on those videos, I mean, most of them I think are still under 2,000 views. And so, it's like, that's kind of the evidence that I have for like, either one, people don't care about how to properly use Procreate, or people don't believe they have this problem, or they're not finding out about the resources that we're sharing. So, that's it's like a constant process of just kind of like, it can be difficult, like being inside the mind of the person who is your audience, right? Like it can be very isolating, as like you said earlier, make sure you comment so I'm not just talking to dead air. But as a person creating content or creating products, like that really is the thing you have to keep in mind, is just like, getting out to conferences, like that's why I'm excited to go to the Paradise Gathering, because then I can actually hang out with people and see what it is that they need help with. And you know I see comments are actually rolling in now that I prompted
Yeah,
people to ask for it.
we've got a
Right.
couple from a few different places.
Cool.
One person commented vanity metrics. Um,
Yeah.
and it's nice, but if you're looking at a side hustle as an actual business, which is
Yeah.
what it should be, then you need to be able to keep track of those metrics.
Mhm.
I remember when I was in school, I had a teacher once tell me, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Yeah.
And that's where metrics come into play. If
Sure.
if you're doing better in one area than another, or maybe you have two videos out that are almost identical, the difference is the initial frame or the
Mm.
wording on the title. That
Yeah.
can have a huge impact on how many clicks it gets, how much exposure that gets, et cetera, et cetera. So it
Yeah.
might be, vanity metrics, but it can also have a huge impact on the business.
Well,
Um,
here's one of the things that I think about, right? Because I see, the reinventing channel. I think there's a couple of different channels that you guys stream to on YouTube, and
yes.
it's also a real challenge, like it is for Tattoo Smart's channel. I think we crossed over, was it 10 or 15,000 subscribers recently? One of those kind of like early milestones, and it was just like I was like, finally, because it's like every month we get 60 to 75 new subs, and like I don't put out content like every day or every week like you guys do. And so it's like, the growth trajectory to get to that next milestone, to get that YouTube play button behind me for the shelf back there, it's 100,000, right? So I get, it looks like we're going to have to wait 4 or 5 more years for that. But then on the other side of it, like, what is the tattoo content that people are watching, right? Because if you pay attention to the channels that are doing much better than we are with straight, education and context for our peers, once you switch it up and it's about like tattooing eyeballs or, kind of like clickbaity stuff, the the views go up, right? And so like, are we competing against, or, are we playing a game that is like a losing game for quality content, and so like, I would like to see more support, from the community for the channels that are doing a good job, basically.
Right, right,
If people believe that's what we're doing, I think that YouTube is the place that most people are going to go to when they're totally new to tattooing. It's where they're
right.
probably going to end up, in the channels that they end up watching are going to become the tattoo educators of that generation. They already are, right? So I don't know what our audience will do with that question,
Yeah.
but I just think, it does seem like it's a slog, and
It,
it's really,
it
really hard to keep going and keep pouring into that channel. But my
I
team
think
tells
there
me
is.
we need it.
Oh, well, I think
And the
you hit on
comments
a
we get
really
are
good point.
nice, right? Like,
Yeah,
that, like, it really does matter. Like, I can get, 10 comments for every one. I can get 10 comments on an Instagram post for every one I would get on YouTube, but the YouTube comments are seemingly more meaningful because I feel like I have to like put in a lot more effort to get them.
right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on some really good points there. There is a lot of clickbait out there, and there are, a lot of channels out there with videos that are getting, a lot more clicks and likes and all types
Mhm.
of stuff like that. But yeah, and you're right. It seems like a lot of people are kind of bypassing a lot of the really in-depth quality information for a lot of that one specific problem. I just want a quick video to
Mm.
show me what to do with that one quick little problem. It's like, well,
Right.
okay, we can help you with that one problem, but you're missing out on a whole bunch of other stuff. Um, so that's part of the reason why I like to do this every week. There's always more information to cover. There's always something new to touch on. Even if it doesn't go on for an hour, even if I can get a good solid 15-minute clip out of these shows that I do to really help someone with something and maybe help open their eye or their mind to something that maybe they didn't see before,
Right.
or maybe something that could even more in depthly help them with, you know, the basis of the problem, then I'm going to try to do that as well. Just trying to promote good, healthy atmosphere for learning, for encouraging people, and I can't tell you, I actually used to have it bookmarked. Sundays at 8 o'clock is when Tattoo Smart used to go live on YouTube, and I would make sure that I had
Yeah.
that time set aside. I remember watching, there was a chrysanthemum video. There were
Oh,
a
that's
whole
a good
bunch of
one.
other ones that were really, really good. And, I used to have that time set aside every Sunday night, 8 o'clock, as long as it was going on. And I'd click in, watch it. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot from it. Um, and I think people are gonna get the information wherever they want to get it, whether
Yeah.
it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever they feel more comfortable with. And I think that's also turning into a little bit more of an issue, is that now instead of just having one or two resources, maybe it was Instagram and YouTube, a few years back. Now you've got a few other additional resources that you kind of have to either try to get all of the people that might have the same questions from those areas and funnel them into one spot, or you have to put that same content out on each individual platform. And that
Mhm.
in and of itself can be very difficult to do. Just the way that different platforms interact and getting everything synced up and having the right permissions there. So it can be really difficult to kind of go through and do that. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So we've got a number of different comments. We've got Marie says hi from Quebec. Ben Fisher, Tattoo Method Pro is great. Tattoo Now has got a few comments on here. Um, they're watching drama. You were a star for 15 minutes. Our numbers aren't huge, but there are enough people who watch and love it and won't let it go.
That's
And
probably
those are the
just Gabe.
people.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's
Oh,
just Gabe. Hi, Gabe. All right.
yeah. Yeah,
Someone's
but we
talking about the USA state price average thing we did. Yeah, it
yep.
was a for those that don't know, TattooSmart ran a survey. I think it was back in, was it 2019, 2020, more recent? I don't know, roughly around a few years ago
Yeah, it
now.
was 2019.
We did a survey, our second time surveying for this data, and we got 4,000 responses of tattoo artists who told us what state they lived in, what zip code they lived in, and what their hourly rate for tattooing was. And so you can still find links to all that data from the TattooSmart blog. But the gist of it was that, pricing has remained, strangely low in some places while going up in other places, and it doesn't necessarily follow, economic trends, and it's more based on just kind of what people in that area feel is right, and a whole lot of other reasons, like, artists being scared to raise their prices and whatever. And like, this last year of business seeming to go way down hasn't helped with that. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have thought that lowering their prices was the way to the way to kind of get people back into their chair. And that's a slippery slope. So
Yeah.
anyway, we didn't come here to talk about pricing, but
Yeah.
someone brought it up. I'm glad you like the resource.
Oh,
It's probably still
absolutely.
about the same, honestly. I doubt that, if we surveyed again today, I doubt that the data would be much different than it was back then.
Well, I mean, it's something interesting to follow up with. Maybe an every
Yeah.
5-year thing could show, maybe growing trends.
Yeah.
Um, I know I adjust my pricing quite a bit over the past few years in accordance with that.
Right.
But I also changed studios, changed a lot of everything that I was doing.
Right.
Pretty much changed everything over the past 5 years. Where I was living, where I was working, the whole nine. So,
Well,
but
yeah, I mean,
that's
hopefully at least created a benchmark for people to be able to look around and say, how do we compare to what others
yeah,
around here are doing, and maybe that gives them the confidence to, you know, be able to say a slightly higher price. And then once they live in that price for a little while, they know that, it actually works fine for their clients, and everything, just keeps moving forward. But you kind of have to constantly do it. I raise my prices every year,
yeah,
right around the same time that inflation numbers come back. I think, okay, well, in order to stay level with that, that I need to just bump it up a little bit and try to get the artists in the studio doing that as well. But it's a challenge,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, especially if you've had clients for, long period of time and it's like,
Mhm.
oh man, I remember when you used to charge me this much. And it's like, well, yeah, but that was, years ago and things are a lot more expensive now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but tattooing is a luxury item. It's something that I always try to stress to people.
Hmm.
You do not, it's not a necessity to get tattooed. It's something you want to get, for whatever reason, but it's not a necessity. And that makes it a luxury item to have. And because of that, yeah, it's not going to be cheap by any means, especially if you're seeking out a specific quality or a specific style, specific, genre of tattooing. That comes with different pricing structures, and you get what you pay for at the end of the day. But yeah, man, really impressed with everything that's been going on over the past few years with TattooSmart. I even started working on a few of my own individual brush sets. I kind of gave a preview of one last year at Paradise Gathering. It was my first time teaching there, so I was like, oh, let's do something different, right? I'll make a custom brush set. There's a lot that goes into that, a lot
Yeah.
more than what a lot of people realize.
Were you
I think
making
it took
brushes that were stamps of designs or more like brushes that are used to create designs?
they were repeating brushes, so they
Okay.
were. I based a lot of them off of different organic textures.
Hmm.
That depending on the way you manipulated the brush, it would create, more like a bumpy texture or a rigid texture.
Sweet.
I think I have some that I based off of lava flow, so they've got a very kind of fine flowing form to them.
Cool.
A lot
Yeah.
of like
Love
organic
those.
stuff. It
Hmm.
was a lot of fun creating it, but it was really kind of tricky to get them to behave right and to move right and
Hmm.
to get them to be the right size and then pressure sensitive but spaced
Yeah.
right and to get them to seamlessly blend.
I
It's
can
not,
totally relate. I've been working
yeah,
on similar brushes myself lately. Just a set of like organic texture brushes, creases and wrinkles and folds and all that type of stuff. And I think there's a lot there. There's
oh, there
quite a
is.
bit of opportunity there, and like, they're not necessarily like immediately obvious, as to like what the application is or how you would use them. I think that at least the ones that I've been creating, they fit into my workflow in like a certain place. Like they don't necessarily, the brush doesn't necessarily spit out what you need, but it spits out something that you can use to get to what you need or to visualize what you're trying to actually create a little faster.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
that's
super interesting.
it's one of the ways that I've kind of always looked at even working digitally, right? Working digitally is a tool. It's one of many
Right.
tools in our toolbox as artists. And it can be very helpful for us to kind of go through and visualize things to help us get to where we want whatever it is we're doing to be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the only tool in our toolbox. I'm a firm
Mhm.
believer that you need to have basic foundational art principles. You need to understand light source, perspective,
Right.
foreshortening, things like that. But it's definitely in my opinion, one of the most helpful resources because it can take drafting something or conceptualizing an idea. It can take a lot of the guesswork out of that and save you hours and hours and hours of work. And I know it
100%.
saved me a lot. So, um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'll send you an email with the brush set I was working on,
Cool.
get some feedback from you about it, see
For
what you
sure.
think.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
The yeah, I guess the main thing that I'm doing or talking about a lot now, other than the Procreate Basics course, because I just feel like that's essential, right? Like people,
Yeah.
if there's something in those videos that probably everyone would learn something from, right? Like I'm not saying that you don't know any of the stuff in there, but to see it, if you could make it through, 8 hours, not 8 hours, not even that, it's probably some are 15 minutes, some are 25 minutes long. So 8 videos, you know, 3 hours maybe of total content time for free on our YouTube channel. Um, if I could get, if I could just wave a magic wand and all of Tattoo Smart's customers would go watch that, I feel like that would get them up to the level that they need to be at to start really having fun, to start really being confident and Procreate and to be able to take advantage of some of the other tools that we've created. Um, so that's kind of the way I see it. But the next, the big thing right now is 3D model humans, right? It's applying tattoo designs to Procreate 3D models so that you can really plan out mostly large scale compositions. I will admit that, this whole world of 3D model humans is not very relevant for someone who's not going to do tattoos that are, bigger than a single session. But for people who are interested in sleeves, back pieces, leg sleeves, all of those things, want to figure out how to compose tattoos on a person. I mean, the next best thing, or this is better really than having a real person stand in front of you where you can just draw on them with markers, because you have all your digital tools that you can still use, right? So,
Right.
this is like my number one recommendation for anybody who's like, I'm stuck here doing tattoos, this size, and ready to move into becoming more confident doing full sleeves. 100%, learning this skill makes sense. And so that's what I'm going to be offering at the Paradise Gathering, is a 2-hour, do it with me workshop where, I will give each attendee a 3D model, probably an arm, and hopefully they have some artwork that they've already created in their iPad that we can practice how to put that artwork onto the model. But we can also talk about compositional principles, like how I like to think about when the model even becomes a part of my process, right? And like, it's actually at the very beginning, but it doesn't have to be like I'm fully rendering. I don't have to fully render the artwork directly on the model. There's a process where you sort of like sketch on the model, and then you flatten it out, and you take it into a regular Procreate file, and you complete the design over in that flattened out space. And then you take it back at the end and wrap it around the model and do a few quick touch-ups. And that seems to be the most efficient way to do it. So I'll just make sure that people understand that process. And we've got videos on TattooSmart's channel. I just made one recently, a couple recently, that show more or less the process. But, I think what I find is that some people like to learn from just like being forced to do it with a group. And so this will
Right.
be a great opportunity to like, and to deal with whatever problems come up, like, maybe there's something different about the way my iPad is handling the file than yours, for example. That will happen,
Right.
and then they'll be like, well, what about this, Russ? And then I'll have to come over and like, debug everything and figure it out.
Right. Well, I'll be on hand to help you out with that if anyone has any
Right.
technical issues. I ran into that quite a bit last year at Paradise Gathering. I was teaching a few
Mhm.
seminars on Procreate, and it was like splitting your time between actually presenting the material and then helping everyone out with all of the technical issues that they encounter
Mhm.
along the way. Maybe this person didn't get the airdrop file, or didn't
Right.
open right, or it went
Yeah.
somewhere that it shouldn't have gone, or they clicked something they shouldn't have gone, or
Mhm.
well, it said it downloaded, but now they don't know where to find it, or it
Yeah.
opened up but it opened up weird. So
It's
it's
all those
always
kind of
nice to
little
have.
gremlins, right? Those
Oh
little
yeah.
things that make people think, hey, I'm not good with technology. And then they sort of like build a wall against it, when
Mhm.
really it's like, once you get to the place where you believe you are good with technology, and you learn, how to kind of just push through those issues, right? Like how to search YouTube for the answer, or, just how to call your friend and figure it out. Um, that's kind of an essential skill, right? For learning
Right.
any new thing, really. But that's been the case, with every new piece of technology I learn. I have a little bit more of a toolbox on how to solve problems, and I do understand, okay, do I need to go get an update, right? What could be the problem, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's like lately I've been finding that for some reason with my iPad and my Apple Pencil, I'll get these like glitches sometimes in the brushes. And I found that if I unplug the iPad, that sometimes that seems to solve it. And I'm wondering if there like some sign of like electrical like loop or static problem. But another thing I'll do is I'll put this drawing glove on my hand, and that seems to solve it, right? So it's like, even still I get frustrated though. I'll be like, man,
Right.
nothing I'm doing is working right now. What is going on? You know. So I guess that never stops, but that's
No.
that's why the workshop format, I think is really good for people, to just kind of like get together with their iPad with the intention of like learning a specific skill. And so, for mine, I'm offering this workshop completely free, and I'm going to give people, well, that's free with people who bought the weekend pass for the gathering, right? Which does include, access to the convention floor, and access to some of the seminars. And of course, they have many other seminars that you can pay for. But I just wanted to make sure that I would have the opportunity to talk to as many people and help as many people as possible. And so they said, sure, Russ, if you want to just give it away, you can. So that's what we're doing there. And thank you, Jason, for agreeing to help me out, because that room could be, that could have more people than I can actually like get around to do all that like one-on-one time with. So I appreciate your offer
Yeah.
to do that.
Hey, anytime, man. Anytime. I'm always happy to help. Um, and it's something that, a lot of people that experience these technical issues, there's a pretty good chance that you or I have encountered that issue before in some aspect, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, here's how I fixed it before.
most likely,
So yeah,
but if I discover something I don't know how to solve, like I'm going to reconnect with you later until we figure it out, because I'm like, I
absolutely.
want to know how to solve it.
Yeah, I'm always happy to help. I spent quite a bit of time doing computer technical support,
Mm.
troubleshooting, and that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty well versed in the technology aspect behind it. And, a lot of times, most of the time, it seems to be a pretty simple fix. With just making sure that you're in the right area with the right settings or the right way to do things.
Mhm.
Sometimes things get a little bit more complex, but, that's it usually doesn't take too long to figure out. So,
Well, sometimes we actually do find problems with our products too. Like
mhm.
a few weeks ago, I was in my studio and I was showing one of the artists at my studio how to add their art to a model human, and she was like, "Well, why is it doing this, Russ?" And I was like, "Huh, that's weird. Let me try the same model on my iPad." And I went back to my iPad and I did the thing. And I was like, yeah, it was like looking kind of distorted, like when you went from 2D mode to 3D mode. The distortion is always a factor here, because we're
Right.
taking something that was wrapped around a 3D model and flattening it out. But what we've tried to do is to find all the places where that distortion was unacceptable, and keep going back to the 3D modeler and pushing them to improve it. And so with the newest round, the advanced 3D body parts models, we were more aware of some of those problems than we had been in the previous release of model humans, because we were doing quality control for different things and not even aware that there were these other problems. So in the newest round, we think we haven't had any discoveries, and we've gone back and done a lot of testing even after we launched. But what we found is that some of the older model humans models occasionally have these distortion problems, right? And so what that means is that I've got to go back to the 3D modeler. We've already paid, we've already closed the books on this deal, and figure out what's it going to take to open these things back up and make make those improvements. And so we're in this state of going back and updating the original model humans. So this will be our like third update on them when we're able to come out with it, maybe a month or two more. But we'll go back and email, notify everyone who ever bought it that they can go back to TattooSmart and download the newest version. So it's a continuous process. And quite honestly, like dealing with all of that 3D modeling stuff has been more work than I've ever had to put into any of our products in the past, because it's like it's just got all of these different levels of how things can possibly kind of go wrong and get missed in the quality control process. And like I don't discover it until that day when I'm the one like looking at it personally going, this is unexpected. Looks like someone has some questions about something.
Yeah.
And
They've got
let's see.
an iPad issue about their
Makes my
Apple
pencil
Pencil
size
and
small.
size with a zoom. It's an interesting one. I don't know that that's one I've ever encountered, but I'll
All
be more than
pencils.
happy to help you out with it.
It must, and this is all pencils or just one specific pencil? That's the first question, right? Like,
Right.
because if it's one specific pencil, then the settings somehow were changed in a pencil. If it's an overall setting on the entire iPad, then we need to figure out how to reset your iPad's like. So iPad has pressure settings for in the Apple Pencil section, like
Mhm.
here. This is where I would look first. let me switch my camera. So the first place I want to look for Apple Pencil settings would be here, right? They're scrolling down through here for Apple Pencil. It must be here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so in this section, this is where the settings that globally cover all of the Apple Pencil would be. And I suppose you could dig around in there and see if it's something there. And then I wonder if you pull down to here. I don't think this menu has anything. And then finally, Procreate itself. If you get into settings here and head over into preferences, these are where all of the settings for how your Apple Pencil might behave are going to be there. Dynamic brush scaling could be the one. Toggle that on and off. Pressure and smoothing. So mine's not, nothing is different about pressure and smoothing for me because I make so many brushes and I want my pressure settings to be sort of in the brush in case anyone buys my brushes. I wouldn't want them to only perform when I have this set like this, for example. So I keep those, basically set like this, and then individual brushes that I build, I'll build different, stabilization into those. So those are the places that I can think to look to solve your problem right now. I hope that helps.
All pencil lines stay the same when zoomed in.
It's really hard for us to
Yeah.
have this conversation through. Okay. Yep. That's it. You're
Oh,
awesome.
there
Good.
we go.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Any other tech support questions we can try?
Yeah. We've got Ray Orzak said hello from Florida.
Hi, Ray.
Yeah. Let's see. Hi from Quebec, Canada. I think we said that one already. But yeah. I love playing around with the different brush settings too.
Mm-hmm.
I've really kind of gotten into doing a deep dive to explore that a bit more, especially with two-tone brushes and dual brushes. And
let me show you some. I'm going to try to do a quick demo of some wacky stuff I figured out yesterday. Just, I wasn't planning to do this, but here we are. Give me a sec. All right, so I draw a lot of scroll work, right? A lot of ornamental scroll work. So I was thinking, what if I could create some brushes that would really speed that process up for me? And I think I came up with some stuff yesterday. Let me go to my, all right, so where are they at? I think I'm calling them magic scroll work for now. This is going to be a little messy and rough, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. So this is a dual brush, like you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a white fill and a black outline automatically.
Interesting. Okay.
And I've just got a weird shape on the edge of it.
Right.
So that's like one thing I can do, and then maybe automatic select, invert, maybe use like a, I don't know, like an airbrush. So I can sort of like knock some things into silhouette real quick.
Right.
That's kind of quick and dirty. And I can actually do another layer on top with the same brush.
Give you a second layer. Yep. To really get that kind of depth in there.
Right. And then I made another brush for the the sort of like central vein of the leaf. Where'd it go?
Interesting. Okay.
This one. So like, I don't think that's the right brush.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So, you know, when I finally you know, get done with all that, just so you know where I'm kind of headed. Where's a recent project? Ah, yeah, this dude. So I've got this you know, here's the line drawing for what I'm going to be working on this Friday. And these lines right here were all from one of these brushes. I think it was this one. Yeah, see this?
Oh, nice. Gives you
Right?
that perfect bevel to it.
Yeah. Cool, right? Because
Dude,
I mean, I
that's
draw it just like that, but then I just had to figure out like what is it that I'm actually drawing and how can I make a brush that does that? And as you know, like the source for a brush like that is really just, you know, draw a circle. I'll show you how to make the source for it. Duplicate. What is duplicate? 2 fingers? No. Swipe.
swipe. Swipe to the left.
Duplicate. Yeah. Maybe. So if you want 2 lines, then that, right? And if you want 3 lines, I can do a
Just add one
duplicate
in the
there
middle.
too. Just put one here, you know. Like
Right.
that's the simple version, right? And if you make that line a little smaller, then the width of that line will be smaller compared to the other ones, right? And then you you know, maybe that's better if that's in the middle. And you just save that out. We'll see what it does. Share JPEG. Save the image.
Yep.
Right. And then I'll just go in and find the brush I already had set up, right? Well, maybe just for the hell of it, I'll make a new brush from the start. Shape, edit, import a file, choose a source, tap on it with 2 fingers to turn it,
To
invert it.
Yep.
Stroke path, we want to dial the spacing back probably. And let's see what it does. Right. So it's wiggly. You know, it's showing a lot of like roughness. And if I don't like that, then I would take stabilization up. I've been really digging this motion filtering lately too. Like it seems to do something nice, but you can kind of turn up some stabilization and streamline. That really helps. And you just play around with like, so that's a really simple you know, 3-line brush. But then one of the things I wanted to happen was for it not to overlap itself the same way. So that appears to be over here in shape. If you take touch properties up to where it follows stroke, right? And now you have that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's a lot of like little subtleties in there, but yeah, man, you can, you know, if you just hold and you know, now you've got like some new little thing you can do stuff with. But you knew all that, but maybe the people watching didn't know, you know,
Right.
how simple it was to just, you know, have an idea of something that you want to create and turn it into a brush, right? And a lot of
Oh,
times
yeah.
I'll copy brushes that I already have, you know, like so I'll look in and see like what's this brush here? Use this to sketch. All right, so you know, inside shape you can see that when I made it, I created this like blob, you know, and I made this using like paint on a canvas. It just looked like that, you know, just like put some ink on a canvas and then scanned it in and then, adjusted it in Photoshop. But you could just draw a blob. You
Right.
don't have to you don't have to do all that. But, you can just go through here on this brush you like, and you can see here, how is everything set right now? There's a grain included, which you can change those out to all these ones that Procreate offers. But you just see every single setting and you just copy it. And then you should have a similar brush, but with a different shape that you changed out,
Right.
So I don't know. I've never really
One
taught
little way
people
I
how to
do
do
that.
that stuff, but I feel like it's interesting, for people
Yeah.
that want to be able to customize.
Yeah. What I've started doing is I'll take brushes that have the settings that I like. I'll duplicate that and then change the actual brush pattern, the actual source shape. That way I know all of
Right.
those settings stay consistent. The only
Right.
thing that changes is that shape.
Yeah. That's a hell
So
of a lot of fun. You can learn so much
oh
about
yeah.
it just by doing that.
And especially with using dual brushes now, which are available in one of the latest versions of Procreate.
Mhm.
Not so much on some of the previous versions, but I've
Yeah.
been using dual brushes all the time,
Yeah.
especially just simple ones that just give
Mhm.
you a basic outline.
Yeah.
Things like whiskers,
Totally.
eyes, stuff like that, where you just want that nice circle, but maybe you want to draw it out and extend it a little bit more. Or if you want to go through and do, say, a power line on something, where you're going to have to do two individual exterior lines and then fill in the middle. If you want a super, super huge, bold line, very easily done.
Yeah. Here's an example of that type of brush. This is one that I just whipped up the other day called guitar string. It's so much more than a guitar string, but you can do that pretty well. Oh, you got to make a layer. That's too small. Right. So it's a shadow and a highlight in one. So when
Very nice.
to make it a guitar string, I can just bump up the, well, let's make the biggest string first. Then we'll make it a little smaller. I'm going to go rough quickly here, but there's 6 strings on a guitar.
Having preset sizes could be kind of helpful with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I always like to customize my presets.
Right.
Some
I'm
of
not
them I
sure.
like to be variable, but I've become a huge fan of on the size bar, just tapping it and then adding a plus to remember where that size is.
Right, yeah. And just to
Oh, there
quickly,
you
one of
go.
the things I like to show people is that what you can draw flat, you can manipulate, into other perspectives after you've drawn it flat.
Yep.
For example, you can change the perspective. Yeah, it's not the best example, but you see what I mean. So once you start to think about digital in terms of the right workflow, you can use the tools that exist to draw something from one perspective and then warp it into the different perspective that you might need. So I like to talk about things like that. It gets a lot more fun. Also, once you get into, like you said, dual brushes, I think is a huge, huge opportunity. And then once people are working with that stuff, then they're going to need to work with different layer modes too.
Right.
Learning how to apply what you did with the dual brushes on top of some base layer, and learning how to get beyond just normal layer mode and working with overlay and multiply and soft light and all the other ones. So yeah, there's so much to learn here, and once you have control of your workflow, then the sky's the limit. You can work so efficiently and try different things out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's an infinite realm of variables and different possibilities that you can do. I've gotten into playing around with some of the brush layer properties as well, getting them to use things like overlay or multiply
Right.
just in a specific brush,
Right.
which
Yeah.
you can adjust in the brush settings, but then if I
Yeah.
create a new layer over top of a base color, it easily goes through and does like a multiply to it or an overlay so that I don't have to change the actual layer structure. One
Yeah.
thing I found is when you combine layers, say you're working on, a piece of flash or something like that. Sometimes if you combine layers, sometimes things don't combine the right way. So one way
Hmm.
you can get away from that is by manipulating the brush as opposed to the layer. Um, so it's just, a different way to achieve kind of the same effect. But a lot of it comes from, encountering different problems and then trying to think of a way to solve that problem.
Right.
Um, it's a lot of fun just tooling around with stuff like that. Uh,
I was going to say the cyberfluidics brushes that we did, they
those
do
are
stuff
awesome.
like
Yeah.
this, but they're pressure sensitive. So the harder you press, the thicker the pattern gets,
Right.
right? And then you can pick up and you can come back to it. That's actually really cool. It looks like it's just breaking away into space or something. But this was made by um, what's his face? Brad Wooten.
Yep.
This was made by Brad Wooten, and underlying idea that makes this possible is actually hard mix mode. So
Hmm.
if you duplicate the brush and you open it up, if you take a look at the shape, we have the classic kind of like soft airbrush shape, which is just defining, and it's making it get light or thinner at the edges, right? So something about that shape is causing that. So where the shape is the most intense, we get the full expression, and where it's starting to lighten up, we get less. So as we make our mark, it's kind of faded at the edge just a little bit, right? You can see.
Right.
Um, so that's part of it. But then the actual pattern is here in the grain. And so
Right.
I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but it's the pattern, but it's completely covering the whole screen, and um it's blurry. It's not crisp. It's like white with like a gray sort of like haze around it. And the blend mode of the grain here is set to hard mix instead of what it normally is, like multiply or something like that. And so, to make a brush like this, you have to be able to make a pattern like this. And because the brush set includes so many different patterns, there's just all of these different variations of this idea. And yeah, it's just so much fun. Once you get all the settings perfectly dialed and the pressure works great, you can really have fun with that. And you can change the pattern, but the alignment is still there, right? Because Brad was really careful to keep the patterns aligned. So different brushes that all have that same symmetry will lock together and give you
Which
all
is
of these
pretty
options.
awesome. That's
See what
pretty
I mean?
awesome.
Like totally
Yep.
different brush, but it lines up. So anything in that sort of hexagonal isometric symmetry is going to work. And then there's some that aren't in that same symmetry, but yeah, that's in there. And you can change the colors on this stuff. So there's two sets called Cyber Fluidics to check out. And then we actually did an additional one that wasn't with Brad because I wanted more, and I wanted to do the more like Islamic Persian patterns that we hadn't really covered as much. And so I reached out to Sarah Brewer, who's an expert in that type of geometry. She's like a mathematician. She teaches math and she makes all this art. And she created a bunch of source materials for us to do all these kinds of patterns here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. And some are pressure sensitive and some aren't. Like here's one I think that's variable. Yeah. Wild stuff. So I use these a lot in my personal work now.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem. Any
Cool. Well, I,
questions?
I was just going to say, I think we
Anyone?
have a little bit of time for some questions. If anyone has any,
Mm-hmm.
let us know. Drop us a comment. We'll be happy to. We do have one question. Has Russ ever led a Monday night class? I'm assuming that's for reinventing the tattoo. I don't know if you have.
I don't think I have. What's a Monday night class?
So there's a Monday night subscribers only drawing group that happens Monday
Okay.
nights, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, where we go through and we cover different aspects of the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, cover
Hmm.
different skill sets, lighting, perspective, depth, contrast, texture, different skill sets discussed in the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. And it's phenomenal. I did it for about 2 years, and you
Hmm.
could really see an advancement in the work I was creating. Not
Nice.
just the type of work and the quality of work, but also the speed at which I was creating it. Because it's a very limited amount of time. You have to get a lot of work done very quickly. So it really kind of pushes you to get better and faster and do more, which to me was something I really enjoyed. I enjoyed that challenge. But it is, available. I don't know if we've ever had anything that, we discussed. I know we did a virtual tattoo a couple of times using some of the needle sets,
Mm,
and a couple of customized brush sets I created just for those classes, uh,
cool.
that were pretty interesting. It was kind of funny to watch, people create line drawings and then go through and do black shading and whip shading and trying
Hmm.
to color over top of that. So it was really fascinating just to kind of watch the whole process. But other
Right.
than that, I don't think we've ever really dived into a whole lot of like pattern type stuff or a lot of
Mhm.
Procreate skill sets. So maybe that's coming down the pipeline in the future.
Sure. Happy to help. Yeah, I guess you just have to kind of like figure out what the group needs, and
Yeah.
because I'm pretty flexible with a lot of different styles and sort of like modalities when it comes to digital design. So it's hard to know like what to show up with without knowing the audience a little bit better. But yeah, we can. I'm always happy. Monday 9 p.m. on a Monday is about the end of my ability to be awake and focused, but I could make an exception for it.
That's awesome. Um, yeah, that's definitely something I think we can talk about.
Cool.
Um,
Oh, you'd like to learn the
Perfect for
ornamental?
teaching
Sure.
ornamental.
Yeah. All
Yes.
right. Yeah, there's
So
definitely some structure that is going on in my brain that makes that easy for me. So I can show that.
yeah, I've always driven a lot of my ornamental and scrollwork design stuff from old engravers
Hmm.
old hand engravers design books.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really the
I
best source. Yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating just to see. And if you look at different regions around the world, how those regions would interpret and create designs, craft their designs in different ways.
Hmm.
Some have a bit more of an acanthus leaf reference, where some are a bit more line oriented
Hmm.
with the way that they overlap their shapes and curl under and go over top. That kind of stuff is awesome. Um,
Yeah, dude. I was in Rome, Italy. I made a post on my Instagram a couple of months ago, and I actually spotted this plant, and I was like, I think that's acanthus because I've never seen it before in real life, and it was just kind of everywhere out there. And I spotted it, and then I looked it up online. I was like, this is definitely acanthus, and so I grabbed all these photos of it, and I noticed that it was kind of this like big leaf that likes to wilt on the ground. It likes to, I saw it in multiple stages, but just maybe it's like that all year long, or maybe it was just the way it was when I was there. But I would see the one that was very happy and green, and then I was seeing like the totally dried up, curled up version of it, and there were all of the different stages were there. And so I
that's
noticed, and knowing that acanthus was the inspiration for the Greeks, who started to use it as a key component of their ornament, along with some other, you know, I guess plants that are native to that area. So, but I felt like just actually being there with the leaf, it sort of helped me to even further process what it is that I'm drawing, and so I'm kind of like back to fundamentals at this moment, right? And I think that it was the same when I went to Japan, and actually saw peonies that look like the ones that we've been tattooing, and chrysanthemums that look like the ones we've been tattooing, and cherry blossoms too. And that's so important. And to be taking all of your reference from tattoos and then not understanding the source, I feel like you lose something. So yeah, what I would do if I were to do an acanthus or a scrollwork drawing class is I would show people what that leaf looks like flattened out, and then we would go through multiple stages of how we can curl it up, and then how we can then take that understanding of that it is a leaf, which is the first thing people have to understand. So it dictates which way the veins can grow out of that central vein. And when you don't understand that, you end up drawing things that are just kind of impossible, and to the trained eye look wrong. So I think that's the main thing I'd want people to take away, is like getting to the structure that builds the drawing.
Awesome.
Cool.
Robert
Well,
just
hello to
said
the
hi from
people. Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Hi from
Um,
Wisconsin. Hi, James and Russ. I would love to lead something on Monday night, and I will be at Paradise. Yes, I see that was answered. Um, I'm trying to think if there's a second seminar that I will charge for at Paradise, but I'm not quite sure what it is. I've been toying around with doing like a marketing and branding, brand positioning kind of thing, where we actually like dig in and follow some formats and structures that are helpful, some frameworks for defining your brand a little bit more clearly. So that's one idea. I'm also open to being available for like one-on-ones, like if people want to just like sit down with me and dig into whatever problem that they have for a fee. I can do that without having a seminar room. Just kind of like it could be talking about studio ownership, for example, is like a big area of interest for me, where I have a lot to add. But I'm not sure if any of that will actually happen. But I'm just throwing it out here live on this in case anyone's listening and they're like, Russ, whatever you just said sounded cool. I'm interested. It would be helpful for me to know. So
Hey,
could
Russ,
be
whatever you
anything.
just said sounded cool. I'm interested. Does that
Absolutely.
count?
Well, I'm going to Paradise with. I'm not planning to tattoo. I'm there for 4 days. I'm helping out in your seminar. You're helping out in my seminar. Maybe I do another seminar, but beyond that, man, I'm a student, and I'm trying to just like have as many productive conversations as I can with people. So and I think this Paradise is such a great event for that. Like they're, all the people that are there are like sort of like tightly grouped together without any distractions, with so many opportunities to just like hang out and grab a meal, or have a drink, or a quick conversation, or a long conversation. And that's what I love about the event. So I'm coming unencumbered by any like tattoos that I have to do, so that I can just be 100% in on like the networking and the education side of it.
Right on, man. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait. Well, thank you very much for coming out today and taking time out of your busy schedule to jump
Sure
in on
thing.
this. Really,
Happy to
really
do it.
appreciate it. Make sure to check out all of the seminars on the TattooSmart YouTube, Procreate Basics, which I will be watching this evening.
Good deal.
Seeing, like what maybe I'm missing something. I'm not afraid to learning something new. And I always like to get back to my fundamentals, so I'll probably be watching those this evening. Um, but yeah, otherwise, you can feel free to catch up with both Russ and myself at Paradise Gathering this year. It's going to be absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait. And thank you so much for jumping on today. I'll probably hit you up a little bit later and send you that organic brush set, maybe get some
Cool.
feedback from you and see what you think.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Um,
love to see what you're
yeah,
doing.
who knows? Maybe you'll see it pop up on TattooSmart. Who knows?
It very well could. That's the trick, I think, with these types of brushes is going to be figuring out how to teach people to use them.
Right.
And as I've been playing around with similar brushes on my own, like I think, okay, cool. Like I could just iterate and make a gazillion of these, but then like people have to understand what it's for, I think,
Right.
and then how it fits in. And so like the education side of it is probably the bigger work. So that's what I would tell you. It's like, how are we going to make these brushes connect in the user's mind with a specific purpose, right? So yeah, think about that. And
Awesome.
thanks
Will
for
do.
everyone who showed up live, and hello to anyone who's watching the replay later. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank
see you
you.
in paradise.
Yes, you will. All right, everyone. Thank you. Take care. Be safe. And I'll catch everyone next week. We've got Anthony Tex at 6 p.m. next week. Don't forget about that. That's going to be absolutely awesome. And yeah, I'll see everyone then. Take care.